Ready? Okay. How many of you can think of a teacher that you had that was no longer doing their job effectively? I'm sure that we can all think of someone, either it was for their age or if they were, say, coaching, that they just weren't putting their students first and they were no longer the priority. Tenure can be a cause of this, and this can have a great effect on how education progresses in the future. First, I'm going to discuss what tenure is, some advantages and disadvantages of it, if it should be eliminated, and what should be done to improve our education system. What is tenure exactly? So it was first established in New Jersey in 1910 to protect good teachers from being let go for unjust reasons. For example, a teacher was often let go if a new political party came into power, a principal wanted to give jobs to some of his friends rather than actually train teachers, or if a teacher became pregnant. Some things like the 14th Amendment and the concept of due process came into play to kind of counteract those things and to enforce good teachers staying or keeping their positions. This is from an article from the NPR called "Is Teacher Tenure Still Necessary?" However, today, tenure is now being abused and will continue to be detrimental to students by the way it protects bad teachers from being fired and hinders the progress of education. Also, according to an article called "Academic Freedom and Tenure" from Gale Group, 2/3 to half of professors have once held tenure. So some pros and cons. Now that we understand what tenure is, it's good to understand both sides of it. So this was from a list of pros and cons from a website called Should Teachers Get Tenure? So for example, a pro would be that tenure prohibits school districts from firing experienced teachers to hire less experienced teachers, and as well as less expensive teachers. The threat of firing has increased in recent years as many school districts face budget cuts. But a con would be that teacher tenure creates complacency because teachers know that they are unlikely to lose their jobs. So tenure removes incentives for teachers to put in more effort and focus on improving their teaching. So should tenure be eliminated? There are various examples of teachers who are protected by tenure. So a Connecticut teacher once received a 30-day suspension for helping students cheat on a standardized test, or a California school board spent $8,000 to fire an instructor who preferred using R-rated movies instead of actual textbooks. Now, not all of these stories are this extreme, but the court case Vergara versus California from 2014 shed some light on the issue of tenure. So the Vergara versus California case, it argued that tenure was impeding the progress of students. It argued that by blocking the firing of bad teachers, tenure denied Los Angeles students their constitutional right to a quality education. It was organized by the Silicon Valley Reform Group Students Matter on behalf of 10th grader Beatrice Vergara and 8 other students. A quote from Vergara was that, "With today's rulings, we can rectify a catastrophe. Quality education is not a privilege limited to a few. It is a right that must be extended to every student in California." This is from California Judge Rules Teacher Tenure Unconstitutional from the National Review. Okay, so I believe that tenure should be eliminated. Tenure is often offered prematurely before the teacher is actually able to prove that they are meant for the job. Research shows that most first-year teachers are often mediocre, and they don't make effective jumps in their career until the end of the second year. So this causes a problem because California evaluates teachers for tenure in March of their second year of work, so they haven't even had 2 full years of experience yet, and they're already being offered tenure. This means that under current California law, principals are forced to make high-stakes decisions about teachers without enough evidence before they can gain enough experience in the classroom. This causes a disadvantage for students who might get stuck in subpar instructors, but it also hurts teachers who aren't given enough time to prove their skill. And in the event of budget cuts or closing schools, California law mandates that the least experienced teachers be laid off first, even if they are more effective than their older colleagues. This is a policy known as LIFO, or last in, first out. This is from The Atlantic in an article called Will California's Ruling Against Teacher Tenure Change Schools? Also, it is very difficult to release a teacher under tenure. Schools may dismiss tenured teachers only by showing a cause after following such procedural requirements as providing notice to the teacher, specifying the charges against the teacher, and providing the teacher with meaningful hearing. And this can cause thousands and thousands of dollars. Some examples of reasons to dismiss a teacher under tenure would be incompetence, neglect of duty, noncompliance with school laws, or conviction of a crime. The Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment also states that no state may deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. This is basically stating that there has to be a good reason and evidence and proof of why a teacher under tenure must be let go. This is from FindLaw, called Teachers' Rights, Tenure, and Dismissal. This translates to a broad scale in education and the effect on education. As of now, 32 states grant tenure after 3 years, 9 states after 4 or 5 years, and 4 states never grant tenure. However, about 2 teachers out of 277,000 in California are dismissed, which leaves thousands of other teachers who are unqualified to continue to teach, but nothing is done about it. This is from a Washington Post article called The Injustice of California's Teacher Tenure. So, some effects on education in the future. A 2013 study concluded that replacing the bottom 5 to 8% of teachers with average teachers, the U.S. could near the top of the international education rankings. Another study by a different group of researchers found that replacing the same bottom 5 to 8% of teachers will increase students' lifetime income by approximately $250,000 per classroom per year. Getting rid of the worst teachers would improve productivity and economic output by trillions of dollars in the future. And this is from the Washington Times article, Teachers Who Can't Teach. Change definitely needs to happen. So, consider the evidence of student learning when granting continuous status to teachers. Tenure decisions too often are made at the school level by principals with little oversight from the district to assure that standards for granting tenure are also comparable across district schools. There's a need for more research on teacher effectiveness, both how to measure it and how to develop and sustain it. This is from the Center for American Progress on Fixing Tenure. So my call to action for you is to raise awareness and to be educated about tenure and all of the effects. This can affect the education of your children and future generations of students. And I just want to end with this quote. Today's decision is a call to action to begin implementing without delay the solutions that help address the problems highlighted by the Bergara trial. Every day that these laws remain in effect is an opportunity denied. It's unacceptable and a violation of our education system's sacred pact with the public.